Tennessee. And let me welcome you to Black Pulse, Dr. Poulton.
Thank you, Dr. Haney.
Dr. Poulton, we've talked about the minority teacher shortage, and as one of the chief representatives for the state of Tennessee dealing with teacher education and et cetera, we'd like for you to say something about the recent appointment of the task force to deal with this problem and any other thing that you'd like to give us in reference to what the state is doing in order to meet the need for minority teachers.
Well, your previous guests, I think, have more than adequately characterized the situation. The fact of the matter is that there are too few black students being prepared to be teachers in our universities and colleges. The question is what to do about it. Now, the approach the state of Tennessee has taken is fairly straightforward. There is a task force that is working right now, both trying to better understand why this is the situation and to come up with remedies. I might say that we're not the only one in this predicament. This is a problem throughout the country, and particularly in the South, and our work is associated with several other states in the South who are trying to come up with solutions collectively.
How do we compare with other states in the South, Doctor?
Well, actually, we're all in about the same pickle. The fact of the matter is that the enrollment rates in schools of education of talented minority students has really nosedived in the last 10 or 12 years. And it's just simply inadequate. Here, in Virginia, in Arkansas, every one of the states that I'm familiar with have the same problem. Now, the idea is, rather than every one of us trying to come up with a solution independently, perhaps we can learn from one another. Each of these states has a task force. I'm proud to say that I think Tennessee's is moving quicker than the other states, and I think it's because we've got a set of people who are truly dedicated to coming up with solutions. Now, there are a number of things I think can be done, and we're at the stage now of looking at them, and we had hoped that by July we should have a report that would list plausible solutions, and hopefully the state will pick these solutions up and run with them. I tend to think of them as 2 or 3 different types of solutions. One is that we need to make sure that talented students in the junior high schools and in the high schools, minority students, fully understand the opportunities in this profession. Granted, the salary scales for teachers in the past has been abominable. Tennessee's doing something about that. The salary programs that are in place now and anticipated in the next year or 2 will make a big difference. That message needs to be conveyed to talented students. The teaching profession itself, I think the status of teachers in our society is on the incline, and that's great. I think that 5 years from now, teachers will certainly have a different life than they did 5 years ago. All of that needs to be conveyed. We need to make sure that young people, before they go to the university, fully understand the benefits of the profession. Right now, those that go on to the universities, they all want to be television personalities like yourself, and we'd like to make sure they have a good look at the education profession. Now, something else that we can do is, while students are at the university, we need to make sure that they get the very most out of that experience, not just in the schools of education, but throughout the university. We need to make sure that bright minority students have a successful university experience. Tennessee has testing programs for prospective teachers. We not only want to see good teachers, minority and otherwise, in the classroom, we want to see talented teachers, and the testing programs give us a tool to work with in that respect. So we want to make sure that all of those preparing to be teachers, including the minorities, have the skills necessary to take those tests and to pass those tests. We'd like to do something else in Tennessee, and that is to look to people who are already established in other professions who sense it's time to make a change. We'd like to give them a window of opportunity so that they could come into the profession as well. And
now, how would that be done? And are you talking about other people who are outside of the area of teaching?
Exactly, exactly. I think that there are, well, I'll just characterize the situation. Perhaps a retiring military officer has served the country, is ready to retire, is going to do something with the rest of his life. We ought to make it possible for that person to come into and prepare to be a teacher. I think that should be done. I don't think we want to subject that individual to the same kind of thing that we would expect to be useful for a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old. But whether they're retiring engineers or somebody who wants to make a career change along the way, we ought to make sure they understand there's an opportunity in education.
But to give them an opportunity to come into education. Well, now, what about some of the education requirements that would those requirements be void for such personalities?
Well, the requirements to be a teacher now are all under review, and we're rethinking that whole situation. And I think that one of the problems that has decreased the number of people coming to the teaching profession is the nature of the requirements, specifying specific courses to take while they're at the university. We're going to give that a complete review to make sure that what is studied at the university is relevant, is pertinent and appropriate and done well. That alone, I think, will draw talented people to the schools of education. So all of that is under review right now, and I think when we're through, we'll have good, reasonable sets of standards.
Very good. We've got about a minute and a half left, Doctor, and perhaps you would like to give us, from your perspective, some of the things that we would have to do in order to bring about all of these things. In other words, the last minute in reference to this topic. Sure.
Well, let me just give some possibilities, because it'll be the task force's responsibility to make the decisions. I would like to see a much more ambitious Future Teachers of America club set up in the high schools. We ought to have one in every high school. It ought to be well done. It ought to be something that attracts the participation of talented students, high school students. I'd like to see programs like they have in some other states where there's a cadet program, where actual high school courses are dedicated to learning about this profession. I'd like to see fellowship programs, not just loans, but programs that really identify talented people, give them status, treat them well, and help them finance their university study.
Very well. Let me thank you for coming by and talking with us about this very, very important issue, as well as other members of the committee. And let me invite you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of the Black Pulse of Nashville.